Hi, everybody. I am Sara from Flowithme, and today we are doing a new episode of Your Wellness Journey. It's a pleasure for me to introduce you to our next guest that we have, which is Laura Hallissey. Welcome, Laura.
Hello. Oh,
It's a pleasure having you here and sharing with others the beautiful wellness journey that you have embarked with Flowithme over the last, what is it now, 2 years, 2.5 years at this stage?
two. Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah. Oh,
So for those of you that don't know Laura, Laura has been practicing chair yoga for how long? Laura, tell us more about your chair yoga journey.
okay, so I suppose I've been practicing for about 3 years now. I suppose, yeah. About that. Um, and yeah, I so a little bit of me. Yoga's kind of been a part of my life for a long time. My mom's a yoga teacher, so I grew up with yoga being there all the time, and I'd practice it sometimes when I went to many traditional yoga classes in my time. But there was never really anything for me, because I'm a wheelchair user, to go like that was, I suppose, geared towards someone in my position. So I always just kind of did the bits of yoga that I could do in traditional classes. Um, so I was sort of looking for something and a way to keep healthy and all of that. And because I get sort of like I can get quite anxious sometimes, and I find yoga a helpful way to regulate that. So my system in a way. So I was looking for something, and I went to the States to do an adaptive yoga course about 3.5 years ago now. And they were doing some of it over there, and I had never heard of it in Ireland. And so when I came home, I thought, well, how am I going to keep this up when I come home? And it wasn't like, I mean, now because of COVID, everything's gone online, but it wasn't offered online. So that was when I was introduced to Flowithme and to you, and yeah, I still remember the first day coming, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna be any good at this. And it was funny because I had done the trip and everything and done yoga, but I had never done it, I suppose in my own home or my own, like in Ireland and stuff. And it just felt like very strange to be doing it there at first. I was like, this is weird. Um, but yeah, so at the beginning I was nervous, but yeah, once I got going, I was like, oh, this feels okay, and just to have it show how easy it was to adapt it and things like that, because I
Yeah.
think I thought it was like much more of a big deal or something, but
Yeah, I think that's what we learned with our classes, wasn't it? That how a lot of the poses, when you see them on the mat, they look like, oh my God, I cannot do that on the chair. But when in reality you sit down and you start looking at, okay, what parts of the body am I really using in this posture? And how can I adapt it to the chair? We had a lot of fun coming up with different versions.
it was to kind of experiment with it and do it like, and it was a lot less complicated than I had sort of imagined in my mind. And sometimes I think, one of the beauty of one of the beautiful things about yoga, and I know some people are missing going to their class and stuff, but even online, if you create that space, sometimes just practicing is the sort of joy of it. And before, I was like, I remember at the beginning with you, and I was like, how many poses can I do and how long can I hold them for? And I was really focused on all of that, like how it looked, and like, was I going to be up for it like the same amount as other people and stuff. And once I sort of got over that, I was like, oh no, it's actually just nice to do it with somebody else, and practice and get to know, listen to my own body and go, no, actually, that's enough for today. Or like, I thought I was very tired, but actually now I feel I can do more. And it was just like, I don't know, it was like kind of got more in tune with that. And the sort of showing off part kind of fell away quick enough. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
yes.
straight away, but like it took me a little while, but I was like, all right, I don't need to prove how long I can be in this pose to be able to be a yoga student.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about yoga is how it connects people with their body and what it feels right, not because there is a picture in Instagram that you have to
Yeah.
try it to do and compare to others because it's your own journey. And this is one thing I've loved, Laura, about your wellness journey. What do you think has happened over the last few years in your wellness journey to get you to where you are today?
Um, well, I think one of the things that is interesting is, you know, yoga and exercise and all that can be kind of, it can be kind of a language that people don't understand. And if you don't practice yoga, people, you're like, I don't know what any of those postures mean, and da da da. And it's almost like just learning a language that you didn't understand before. Because I sort of thought, I didn't know what you meant even when you would say things like, does that feel okay? And I'd be like, I don't know. What's it supposed to feel like? Like, I was like, I don't know. And then I started to sort of, I think the longer that you're doing it and the more it's sort of attention, I guess, that you give your body, the more it is actually telling you if it's okay. But at the beginning, I found that those, I guess, signals very hard to hear. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I think it takes time for you to quiet your mind enough to be like, all right, okay, I'm hearing it now. I wasn't at the beginning, and I was really overthinking it. And so, like, I was like, I don't know, is it supposed to feel like this? Is it supposed to look like this? I don't know. You tell me. And then I eventually was like, no, actually, so I guess the answer to that question is like, it's building a trust of your own body. You know what I mean? Which I think I sort of don't think I had until I started doing yoga, because I was like, well, I won't know when, if I don't feel, because I have like sort of mixed level of sensation in the lower part of my body. And so I was sort of obsessed with the fact that, like, I won't be able to feel it and I won't know. But actually, you do know, because your body's wiser than you give it credit for. And I've lived in this body for over 30 years. And so it's learned some things. And it's like, it knows when it's not okay more than, sometimes we know when something doesn't feel right better than we know if it does. And so when I was doing certain things, I would say to you, I don't know, that that's maybe we will try it. And you'd say, okay, we'll try it this way instead. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's better.
That's better. Yeah.
So it took time to give it just, but we don't, I think, learn to give ourselves that time to let our body like just explore, is that feeling
Oh,
okay? Because
yeah.
we're looking on Instagram about how the other people look, or we're sort of planning it all out. Um, and so, yeah, I think that was a big lesson for me of like, okay, so now if I just got quiet for a minute and sat here, and it'll actually tell me.
I think that's been a fantastic benefit. And also the groundedness I've noticed in you, your posture, and how grounded you feel that when you were doing the postures, you found that it was a lot easier, even balancing poses in the chair, that sometimes we would use blocks or we would use other things to support us, and how grounded you felt after doing them.
Yeah, I think I remember, just quick thing, when I was in college, I studied like media and stuff, and we used to do like sound engineering in school, in college. And the guy who taught it said to me once, he said, it's very difficult for you because you're not rooted to the ground, like, because you're sitting on your chair. And I was like, oh. And he's like, so, he's like, that nervous energy has nowhere to go. And I thought, I really thought about that, and I was like, oh. And I find that yoga gives me an opportunity to ground and be like, okay, I can plant my feet in my, my foot plate, or I can plant my
Yeah.
foot in my chair, and I can actually achieve that without having to be in standing position. And that has been invaluable for kind of fear or anything like that, which this year has been full of, like, of
Yeah.
anxiety and watching the news and worrying about, getting sick,
Everything going on in the world.
everything
Yeah.
wrong in the world. And now I kind of go, okay, I just need a minute. And it's almost like a tool that I've learned now to go, okay, I can actually bring this whole because I don't think that we learn how to self soothe and regulate very much, and
Yeah.
uh, and I think yoga's been invaluable in that way for me. I've often said to you at the start of practice, like, I just want to do a grounding exercise because it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing, but it's actually not, because it's like a life skill more than
And
anything.
how important is to have that tool in your toolbox that you said, that is chair yoga, has given you all from meditation to postures, or also sometimes the breathing has all been fantastic. And it was just
Yeah,
doing a full
yeah,
breathe in.
absolutely. Just knowing that you can, like, come back to your breath and be like, okay, and just sort of focuses your mind when so much is going on, and I think that's been very
So
helpful.
if we were to talk to the Laura that met me the very first day, what advice would you give her after everything you have learned over the last 2.5 years?
Um, well, I think one of the things that I would tell her, I'm not sure she'd listen to this, but
We'll tell her.
tell her anyway, because I'm still learning it. But is that I know when you go into a new space and it's normal to be nervous, and as a teacher as well, to, like, you have to build up a trust with somebody when you're practicing yoga and all that. And yes, especially if you've reduced mobility, it's very important for you to set your boundaries about safety and tell your teacher, where the areas are that you're concerned about and all of that. But I think the language of it was very interesting for me to learn. Like, I now wouldn't say, "Oh, I won't be able to do this and I won't be able to do that," and just to let you know, I can't do this. And you were kind of like nodding at me, like, "Oh yeah, okay." And now that I know you better, I know that look, which is like, "We're gonna do that, but in a week or two." Like, okay. And now I think I would just say, "Look, I have, this is an area that might need more attention, or this is an area I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it like this." And rather than constantly saying, "I can't do this and I won't be able to do that," because it's not a good thing to keep telling yourself.
Yeah,
Because the reality about yoga is you don't actually know until you start, and a
yeah,
lot of a lot of flexibility and things like that came back after a while, or is built up over time, and
yeah,
it's not. Now I know, like, for various different conditions, people might feel like, or you can't, and you don't want to. I don't want to advise anybody to push themselves beyond the comfort
no,
zone or anything. But I suppose what I would tell her is just to be open to finding out what I could and couldn't do, because I didn't really know, and yet I was telling you, like, no, 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 I won't be able to do that ever, and you were like, okay. And it's just give it, so I suppose it's just to be open to what I can learn, and some things won't happen and some things will, and rather than just sort of saying this is, being very sort of rigid about it, which is not what
yeah.
it's what yoga is for.
Well,
So yeah, that's
we
what I
got you into a very flexible position where even your mind has that flexibility now and fluidity.
kind of go, and I know I still do it a little bit, and sometimes you're like, but now I sort of go, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, and you know, or we'll see how it goes or whatever, and which is, but I've kind of come a little bit out of that, where
Huge,
I can't
huge,
do
huge.
I can't do that bit, because you never really know until you try, and also because there hasn't been, like, that old saying of, like, when you see it you can be it, is very important. And I think people, so it's not to judge anybody, because a lot of people, myself included, who are wheelchair users or who have reduced mobility, haven't been able to see other people in our position do this very much, especially in Ireland and places.
Yeah,
And it's really important for them to be able to see, oh no, actually you can. And then you can start to build a confidence, because sometimes if you've never seen anybody that looks like you be able to practice yoga, then of course you're going to be like, no, no, I couldn't do that. Um, so it's been important for me, like, to see, even like when you put up videos, or on your content on Flowithme,
yeah.
like, oh look, people are other people are doing that,
Doing.
so I suppose that for anyone, who's using a wheelchair or using a mobility aid, yeah, of course you don't think you can do that, because it's not been very widely, whereas
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no judgment if you think that, but it's I suppose the advice that I would give to people is like don't write yourself off at the beginning. Give it a try, and there will be an amount of it that you, in the same way of everybody's body, there's only
Yeah.
certain things that everybody can do, and
I
you
cannot do every crazy posture they put on Instagram, but I don't want to either.
exactly. And I think after a while you don't want to, but when we go in first, we're like we want to be able to do everything because that's like the way human beings are wired or whatever. But after a while, I was like, oh, I don't mind if I don't do that bit, but I'd quite like to try this bit, you know. So yeah, so it goes. It's just to have the bravery to go. We'll try it out and see how it goes.
And we'll share with the listeners that you don't only practice chair yoga, you are actually training to become a chair yoga teacher very soon, which is fantastic.
Strangely enough, at the beginning, I was like, I just want to do, and that's the other thing is I was like to you, I don't want to do this with anyone. And you were like, okay, and I was like, just to let you know, I'm not. And you were like, I get it, yeah. And then I was like, oh, this might be, because actually, it's sort of like, and I know I've got this from you because you really love your job, and it's like when you see what it does for people and what it gave me, like a bit of me is like, oh, that would be nice to be able to show other people because I have had yoga in my life for a long time. So I knew that yoga had great benefits for people. But for a lot of people who don't know about yoga, they kind of go, oh, no, no, no. And I really want to be like, no, no, everybody can do it. Like, I'll show you, everybody. So there is a kind of a feeling now of wanting to share that and be like, you just wait, you know, when like,
Yeah.
because
And
it's,
you
yeah.
will know when the time is right for you, Laura. Like when we started the journey, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful to have seen how much you have progressed. And
Thank you.
is for
Oh,
me
I'll
as a teacher, I have learned more from you that I probably have taught you. So as I always said, we are students.
I think that that's the thing about yoga as well is there's no hierarchy in yoga, and I always think it's nice that you say practice because it's not a routine that you're learning or anything. It's like every day is a practice, and the point about practice is it's not supposed to be perfect. It's only practice. So and it's really nice to do it with somebody and do it together because there's kind of a team feeling in it of like we're doing this together. We're not really sure where it's gonna go, but we're
We'll try.
anyway, we're trying, yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic to get to share with the Flow With Me listeners your beautiful story, and I can't wait to see where you end up because, oh my God, so many things are happening that I know your future is very, very bright, and I look forward to more chair yoga classes together.
I look forward to working with Flowithme over longer. Yeah, encourage everybody to come along.
Oh, no. Well, fantastic. For everybody that is listening, you can listen to other episodes as well in Spotify or in our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Until next time,
Thank you.
namaste.